Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show. We got a screwed up box there up there. That sounds bad. You see, on today's show, Clase suspended. The Cade Smith blow save, it's into the red. It's into the red, and so are the Guardians, Zach. It's a big mess. Worse than that box. Emmanuel Clase suspended. Cade Smith blows his first save opportunity. Could things be worse right now for the Guardians? We're going to find out. Zach's going to answer all our questions coming up on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show.
I mean, where do we begin?
Oh, there we go. So,
where did you go?
By the way, before we get into everything with the Guardians, last night my all-time favorite player as a kid passed away.
Yeah.
Ryan Sandberg died. I think Zach's frozen now. I don't know what is going on here, Zach. This is an important show, and we're having all kinds of issues. So we'll try to get it together. But Ryan Sandberg died yesterday. My all-time favorite player. This was heartbreaking. Obviously much more to his family than me, but this was heartbreaking because the guy, as a kid, as a Cubs fan in the 80s, I mean, he was it. I loved him. And I was just saying to my wife yesterday afternoon that I think Ryan Sandberg is going to die soon because I knew he had a very serious cancer. He wasn't at any of the big events with the Cubs or the Hall of Fame. And then to hear that news yesterday, that was a killer on top of everything else that happened yesterday, baseball wise. That was brutal. I don't know if you have any thoughts on Sandberg before we move on to the Guardians, but
no, it was a little before my time.
Right, yeah.
I remember coming home from school every day and turning on the Cubs in the 90s.
Right.
And like he was still on those certain teams and stuff, but he wasn't the prominent player he was in the 80s, certainly.
Right.
I know he had a cup of coffee with the Phillies to start, but
yeah, he did.
It's also a bygone era in many ways with Hall of Famers who play for essentially one team their entire career, and we may have one in Cleveland here, but you just don't see that a ton anymore, and so I'm sure that helps with your fandom in particular, but just anyone who it's easy to gravitate to a guy like that, right?
Right.
And it's easy to buy the jersey and know that you're not going to have to get a new one.
Yeah, I wore 23 as a kid, not because of it being a famous number for other people, but that was his number, so that's what I wore as a kid. Anyway, let's move on to the Guardians because there's a lot to get to here. Obviously, terrible news both off the field and on the field yesterday. First, after already Luis Ortiz has been suspended for gambling allegations for about a month now, we get word that Emmanuel Clase has been suspended through at least the end of August for suspicion of gambling as well. Then on the field, obviously, after the Guardians come back against the Rockies, their old friend Tyler Freeman does them in, and Cade Smith, with his first opportunity to replace Emmanuel Clase, blows up and blows the game. We'll get to the on-field part later, but the news came down, so we'll start with that here, Zach. Just the news. To me, it felt out of left field. I don't know if you got any hint of anything earlier, but they said they kind of had some idea that something like this was coming. But I mean, what a disaster, Emmanuel Clase, and what a black eye for the organization.
Yeah, I mean, it's so Jason Lloyd was at Progressive Field with me yesterday, and we were going over what to write, and he's trying to choose an angle for his column and was really struggling to narrow it down from about 7 prominent questions or just like you said it, like frustrating, ugly, kind of depressing paths that this goes down now. And I told him, I'm like, maybe that's the story. Like, this leaves us with so many questions and with so many emotions, all of them negative. I mean, that was That was one of the darker days I've been covering the team for 15 years. Certainly 15 years. I know there were a lot of bad days from the 60s through the early 90s, but I mean, you're talking about a guy who was on a Hall of Fame track. And I know he had a PED suspension in the past. I don't know how voters would have felt about that eventually, but I guess the way to put it is someone who's at the age of 27, like, could probably count on one finger the number of closers who are as accomplished through the age of 27 as he is, right? And very, very, very possibly just threw it all away.
Oh yeah.
And I want to be careful not to just complete the investigation for MLB on their behalf. Like, we don't know exactly what the details are, but like, I'm willing to listen if someone can throw a scenario my way that doesn't mean these two guys never pitching in MLB again. So from the team perspective, look, they had been fielding offers or heavy interest on Clase for weeks, and I'm not sure that there's a contender that did not at least reach out. The Blue Jays really want bullpen help. The Yankees want bullpen help. The Red Sox want bullpen help. The Tigers want bullpen help. Maybe the Astros would be like lower on this list, but the Mets wanted Clase. The Phillies wanted Clase. I think the Brewers are looking for a reliever. The Cubs are looking, I think they want Clase. The Dodgers. So, like, there was a market. And the Guardians were doing what you would expect them to do, which is tell teams, the guy's got 3.5 years of control. We're still kind of in this race. We're not in a hurry to trade him. Obviously, when this goes down and they get wind of it, and when teams reached out, they said he is not available. So,
Right.
and now that he's on paid leave, he's ineligible to be traded. So that's out the window. So if you're thinking of it from the team perspective, you think, well, you've either got a guy who has a Hall of Fame resume in the making at closer, the best closer in the league, I think, which is a good thing to have for 3.5 more years. And he's cheap. Like, that's a dream. That's why he has so much trade value. Or you would trade him this summer or this winter for an absolute haul. Like, I think you would get 2 good young position player prospects who could help you, and maybe a couple lottery tickets, or, a back end starter or something. Like, you could have gotten a really nice package for him. And now you have none of the above. And not only is it crippling your chances this year, and like, it's not, it's not a death sentence for like that in itself doesn't mean, hey, the team needs to just tear it all down and start over. But like, it's pretty bad. And you pair that with Ortiz, who also was 26 years old and making the minimum, and you had him for a long time, and he looked like he had a really bright future. And you just take those 2 pitchers off your roster, and like, I think it's gutting both on the field and off. Like, in that clubhouse, like, that's just a complete, you can fake it and say, well, this is a rallying cry. Let's rally around this and let's push forward. But man, I don't think that's honestly possible at this point. And I'm not going to say that that's why they lost to the Colorado Rockies, but the cherry on top is losing to historically the worst team in baseball history and doing so in the fashion that they did. And then Tyler Freeman, just to rub a little salt in the wound with go ahead hit.
So, first of all, let me say that today's show is brought to you by Epicor. It's our title sponsor today. Next, let me say that I believe, to me, this is the final straw, and I believe we need a cleaning of the house of the Guardians organization. I think the front office, which has had their time and they've had success, I think it's time to clean house. A few years ago, we had the whole Mickey Callaway situation, which for the most part got ignored here by most people.
I think the timing helped because it was like, not during the pandemic, and
right. Yes. That situation was a disgrace. Terrible for the organization. And the fact that this is going on, you now have two key players. There were players suspended for gambling last year on other teams, but they were like marginal major leaguers, guys most people never heard of.
And those examples of gambling were like, I'm injured and I'm going to bet on
Right,
Reds Marlins,
right.
even though
Nothing
I'm
like
on the
this.
Athletics. Or, the one guy who did bet on his team, Tucupita
Marcano.
Marcano,
Yeah,
who he was banned for life.
yeah,
And he was injured when he was betting on his team.
yeah,
But you can see how what Ortiz, and we don't know exactly what Clase is being looked at
yeah,
for, but you can see how what these guys are alleged to have done is it's light years more serious, right? Like this
oh
is
yeah,
there's a difference between a player sitting on his couch and being like, I think my team's going to win tonight, which is obviously frowned upon, and it's in the rule book, and it's supposedly pounded into these players' heads, although we can debate if it's done effectively enough. But there's a difference between that and between having the ball in your hand
yes.
and knowing that there is a lot more riding on it than just ball one or strike one.
That's right. There's no excuse for these players. I don't want to hear every time somebody talks about this. I am so sick of this shit. I'm sick of and listen, I am as anti-owner as it gets. I'm sick of them. They're all greedy. Okay. But stop telling me, well, gambling's legal, and the league is in bed with these gambling companies. What does that have to do with this? That is a false equivalency, and people bring this up all the time. I get it that it's the players, they can bet on other things. They can bet on other sports. If they have a problem with gambling, there's avenues that they can go down besides potentially throwing pitches that are ball. And by the way, these guys, I know neither Luis Ortiz nor Emmanuel Clase, but especially Ortiz, are making, a ton of money in terms of compared to the average baseball player. But still, you're making life-changing money. How stupid would you have to be to do these things? How much money could they possibly be making doing this? Not much.
Yeah, I mean that's there's a lot we don't know, right?
Right.
And given like I know Ortiz's background didn't have the greatest upbringing where he's from. Like his family did not have much money. And so you wonder if there are other things at play, right? Like are there some bad characters involved here? And there's a lot. I would say that MLB probably has a lot of what they need if they're going to go ahead and suspend these
100%.
guys like this,
Yeah.
right? I don't know. I'll say this. Are you worried that more people are involved?
Well, yeah. So the Guardians, after this comes out yesterday, put out a statement saying that that's it. It's these two guys and nobody else. And then there's a report, and I apologize, I forgot the name of the reporter.
Hector Gomez.
Thank you. Who's, a legitimate reporter. He's not some guy out of left field. Says, well, there's more names coming. There's more, and we're going to find out about it soon. So if he's,
Can I?
Yeah, please go ahead. Tell me.
Major League Baseball went out of its way to tell the Guardians there's nobody else that they're looking at here. Okay. And you wouldn't do that if you didn't have a pretty good handle on the investigation, right?
Yeah.
Because they didn't do that the first time with Ortiz. I think at that point, if I remember correctly, asking Chris Antonetti in Chicago when the Ortiz stuff came down, I think they said something like they didn't think anyone else was involved, but like also they didn't know, and I think they couldn't comment. Like they had very, very little information when that went down. This time, like I think it means something when MLB says, like MLB informed the Guardians, nobody else. So it was reiterated to me by some people very, very, very high up and not with the Guardians that what was originally put out there by the Guardians and MLB is the fact.
Okay.
And so I don't want to get into a reporting war because this isn't
Yeah.
even reporting. This is the team and the league saying this is what the deal is, and they're the
Yeah.
ones doing the investigation. And that what would their motivation be to lie about this if it can then be proven
Right. It would
untrue?
be so
So
stupid. It
yeah.
doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Also, if there are more names being revealed in the next few days, why would the league say there are no more names?
Right. It doesn't make any
That
sense.
they would be the ones in control of revealing
Yeah.
the names. So I would not be concerned about that. But we don't know what has Ortiz cooperated with the league's investigation. What has he said? What does Clase think about it? Like, we know nothing. And so, we do know that I reported this yesterday that the team had suspicion that this was coming before it actually arrived with Clase. So they were aware of it over the weekend that it could happen. They didn't know exactly. And Steven, I want to give him credit because I also pressed him and pressed Chris Antonetti pretty hard about, well, why did Clase pitch twice Saturday and was
Yeah.
warming Sunday in a game they were trailing by 3? And so why are you doing that? And Vogt's answer was, well, we didn't know if or when or how or why or what it was about. Because I think there's a question to be, and I've asked this, but
Yeah.
if Ortiz is being investigated because he intentionally misfired some pitches, right?
Yep.
So if you have an inkling that Clase is part of this, doesn't it stand to reason that he'd be looked at for the same thing?
Yes.
And that's a guy you want to throw out there in the 9th inning of a close game?
No.
Someone who might be betting against themselves?
No. And obviously,
So,
he blew the save in the first game of that doubleheader.
yeah. And the counter to that is, of course, the guy before Saturday, his ERA since May 1st was 110.
Right.
So even if he's betting against himself, he's been really good and reliable.
Well,
So,
to me, I don't care how good he's been. If he's been betting against himself in some way, he should be banned for life. So should Luis Ortiz if it's proven that they did this. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace to the organization. And to my initial point, I think Chris Antonetti and the entire front office need to be fired. I know this is I'm sure it's not going to be a popular opinion, and I'm sure it's not going to happen. But I had already started losing faith in this front office and had said, hey, if they don't turn this around soon, it's time to make a change. They have had more than ample opportunity, and I know they've had a good deal of success along the way. So I don't say this lightly, but if you throw this disgrace that's happened within the organization with the fact that the Mickey Callaway situation was taking place under their watch, the fact that in the last 10 years, last 5 years, their free agency forays have been awful. They have not been able to develop a single hitter outside of Stephen Kwan, and I'll even say Kyle Manzardo, who already was developed really by Tampa Bay mostly, but I'll say him too. In the last 10 years, all those things combined, I'm done. I'm done with this front office. And I think the organization needs a fresh start. They're so internal. Like every change, there's somebody in already here, and there's a lot of groupthink here, and it's not working. And I know part of me says that's crazy. They just had a great season last year, and they almost went to the AL. They almost went to the World Series and all this. And I get it. If you think I'm nuts because of that, I understand where you're coming from. I just look at generally where they've been headed in the last 5 years, throw in 2 major scandals, and I don't like it. And I think it's time to make some changes. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it should. And we'll see, what happens here over the rest of the season and into the offseason. But I don't like where this organization is at all. This is the most down by far that I have been on this organization since Manny Acta, and that's a long time ago.
people have been fired for a lot less.
Mm-hmm.
They've had, I mean, even if you just look at the on field or the transactional
Mm-hmm.
things, and also first of all, like I don't even know if we're gonna have time to get to the actual team that sits at 52 and 54 and
Yeah.
is still trotting out the Jonathan Rodriguez's
Right.
and the it's
Carlos
just
Santana's got to play every day. Every
it's
day he's got to play this guy.
it's abysmal. And so there's that. It's just a reflection of they've had the anti-Midas touch for a while now. I
Yeah.
mean, it's yeah. Um, where's the owner? Does he
Nowhere.
exist?
Yeah, I know.
Anyone ever hear from this guy? Look, I know that
Ridiculous.
he said some dumb stuff to me 6 years ago, but like ever any accountability?
Never.
I
Never.
mean, does anyone get mad?
It seems like no.
Does anyone ever get fired? Does
No.
anyone ever get in trouble? Do you have to go to the principal's office? Do you get a timeout, a
No.
detention? Like it's a country club. I like country clubs, but it's yeah, I don't know. If here's the thing I struggle with because you have to give them credit for last year. You do. They went to the
Yes.
ALCS. It was incredible. Stephen Vogt looked like a perfect A+ hire, and I just thought the sum of the parts was so great last season. Where you look at the roster and you're like, how are they doing this? But you understand the bullpen, and I just thought the managing and the coaching and the preparation and so many things were great. The camaraderie last year was awesome. I also know that they went into that season not thinking they were going to be that good.
Right.
So it's like I don't want to give them full credit because they
No.
almost stumbled into it, but
Yes.
you do have to give them credit though. I I just don't understand what the plan has been. I don't understand what the plan is. I mean, this obviously changes their plans, and
Yeah.
we can talk about the fact that I fully expect Shane Bieber to get traded, and
Yes.
I fully expect them to spend the next 3 days pulling their hair out over whether this means they need to trade Stephen Kwan now. I think they would really, really prefer to wait, but I don't know that they can, and it might just be a rip the Band-Aid situation.
Oof.
Um,
You can't get it. Jason's been trying to talk to me for a month that they can get something from Santana. What are they going to get for Santana?
$25 gift card to Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, I mean, he's worth nothing. You can't get anything from Lane Thomas. You can't get anything from Paul Sewald.
Lane Thomas is like out until September.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're all completely useless in the trade front. Obviously, you've lost your best trade chip. We'll see with Quan, as you say. They'll get something for Bieber. Teams will
You
be
don't have DeLauder's not coming. Like at least
no.
you could look forward to August and September and be like, hey, we get to watch DeLauder every day,
Right.
Burrito every day.
No.
Those guys are injured.
We're not going to see
Bazzana
Bazzana.
just came back in Double-A. Like,
We're not going to see Bazzana. They seem to have no interest in calling up Kafis, so they're content to be bad on offense.
There's just there's no accountability. Like I asked Chris Antonetti yesterday. I said, obviously, aside from the pitchers themselves, who's to blame here? Is there anybody else who deserves some culpability? And he actually said it. I should pat myself on the back. He said, that's a great question. But he said he wanted to wait until this investigation is resolved. And then let's ask that question. And that's fair. I mean, I who knows what the details will be. But
yeah.
I mean, this I don't know. I feel like there would be some stern talkings to at least from an owner who didn't just let and they're you're right. It's insular, right? Like they don't change anything. They don't get outside voices. I've said this on the Big Show a few weeks ago. They had a perfect opportunity to go hire a new hitting coach from the outside. Go hire someone from the Dodgers or the Rays who has experience with successful hitting development, and you went internal, and maybe Grant Fink will eventually be a really good hitting coach, but like they kept Ty Van Berkeley for a decade. Like you had a chance. Go hire from the outside someone who has been part of an operation that you can completely overhaul what you do, what hasn't worked forever.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that. And
I mean, Stephen Vogt's the only outside the organization guy, and that was the one time. But who knows how much even say
Chris Valleca too, but that wasn't. That was what 4 years ago, and I think they've had more evidence that what they're doing isn't working.
That's right.
Since then. And
Yeah.
so it's not even just a hitting coach. It's like they have a vice president of hitting, a senior vice president of hitting, a director of hitting, a hitting analyst, a hitting coach, an assistant hitting coach, another assistant. It's like all these people and still can't quite crack the code. So go hire someone who can build his own department and figure this out. But that's just again, that's like one little part of this, right?
Yeah.
But the transactions haven't worked. You know, I like I don't want to talk about payroll today, but like that's part of this too. Just like how they've spent their money has completely flopped.
Right. Well, and we've talked about this last week. It almost feels like you asked Chris Antonetti who's to blame. We have a hard time sometimes finding out who to blame because it's like, well, I can't blame front office because the owner doesn't spend enough. But, you know, I can't blame the manager because the team's not good enough.
Yeah, it's convenient, isn't it? They all escape blame because
and I'm done with that. And I'm done with that. I'm blaming the front office for the 2 scandals now in 5 years. I'm blaming the manager. I don't even know if it's his fault. I don't care. The fact that Kyle Manzardo is by far their 3rd best offensive player, and he sits every time they face a lefty, whether the lefty's any good or not, that's ridiculous. I'll blame the front office again for the lack of and the coaching staff for the lack of development of offensive players. I'll blame the front office again for the fact that they slow play almost every prospect they have, wait forever for them to come up. I'll blame the front office and the medical staff or whatever, the fact that so many of their key prospects keep getting hurt. We've seen, I mean, all these top prospects. I'll blame the front office again because they failed to make trades. I'm sure there have been many opportunities over the last few years to trade all these good prospects, none of which have panned out. None of them. Not Espino, not Rocchio, not Arias, none of them. How many guys could they have made trades for good players over the last 3-4 years when these guys were top prospects? Espino, Rocchio, Arias, Angel Martinez, all along the line. None of them have done anything. None of them. And if you look at their top 10 prospects from like 3 years ago, the only one that's been any good is Gavin Williams. And even he's not been as good as we thought he would be. But okay, I'm fine with him. He's good. He's good enough. And that's it. Everybody else that was a top prospect has little or no value at this point. And that's that. None of that's the owner. The owner, yeah. And you know, and you want to blame the
no,
owner
but it is the owner though.
Well, it's
because the owner they don't fire anybody. They've had the same people in the organization in every department have worked there since 1986. Like
that's right.
It's yeah.
I blame. You're right.
That's the issue. It's the culture involved. And look, it breeds a lot of good. They have continuity. They have stability. Yes. It does allow the front office to, you know, I think I don't want to even mention the word Browns here because yesterday I texted Zach Jackson yesterday. I was like, so this is what you do every year, huh?
Yes.
But it breeds a lot of good because with the Browns, you get hired to run the front office and you're immediately on the clock and you feel like if you don't make the right move that day, it could be the end of you, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to be perfect. And I feel like that's a lot of pressure that can lead to poor decision-making. But it's almost swung too far the other direction here.
Yes.
Where there's no pressure, there's no urgency.
Yes.
And because of it, why trade these prospects when if we make a Junior Caminero, if we make a bad deal, that could come back to haunt us in the long term and just be terrible. Yeah. Whereas if we hold on to our prospects, like it buys us time and you know, we're not in a hurry here. We've got 20-year contracts in the front office. Yeah. I mean, it's the tough thing here is the timeline because you've got what certainly looks like an ugly lockout coming in about a year and a half. And you've got a potential transfer of ownership in 2-ish years. And, you know, maybe it's David Blitzer's call. Maybe he wants his own people. And maybe the landscape of the sport looks very different. So I don't know. When was the last time a front office person got fired here? Like legitimately, I think it was the 80s.
Never since I've been here.
You know, you had Hank Peters and then John Hart and then Mark Shapiro and then Chris Antonetti and then Mike Chernoff. And it's Yeah.
This will be three
It's
of
like
the
the
last.
Supreme Court.
And here's the thing, Zach. And this will be 3 out of 5 years that the Guardians don't make the playoffs, right? And the 2 years they did, you're right. The front office gets credit, at least some level of credit. Frank Conant the 1 year, Vogt the other. Both of those years were surprises. So in other words, it's essentially 5 years in a row that the team didn't really expect to be good.
Yeah, and that's where I struggle, where it's like you didn't expect to be good and you ended up being good. Okay, fine. But like when are you going to expect to be good?
Yes.
That's
When are you
my
going to make
question.
moves? When are you going to make
And
moves that
that
can help you stay good?
but that is where ownership is just as responsible as the
Yes.
front office. And
Yes.
that's where I just have not understood the plan of it. You're not building toward anything.
No.
You build towards something when you actually have legitimate prospects who you can develop and you can evaluate properly, and they've done neither. So
No.
they're not building toward anything. They
That's
enter
right.
every season with internal projections of like 82, 83 wins. And then some years they outperform that, and it's like, oh, look how good we are. This is great. But then they don't build off of that. And some years it doesn't pan out, and then you go into the next season with low expectations anyway. So it's just, yeah, they're stuck in this ugly cycle. And I mean, honestly, maybe this gets them out of it. Maybe they're like, we kind of have to reset. The frustrating and probably depressing thing is that you've had a Hall of Fame talent on your roster for way below market value that you're wasting. And you want to build around that, and they haven't really done that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And since winning the World Series last year was the only time since losing the World Series, that last year was the only time they'd gotten back even to the ALCS. Let me give you a commercial here. Let's talk about Epicor for a minute. Today's episode brought to you by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, in practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it alone. We've seen that. Working together makes getting the win easier. At Epicor, the all-stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global vision, will equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most of every hardworking minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier finds the lane. Discover your success at easierwithepicor.com. That's EASIERWITHEPICOR, easierwithepicor.com. All right, let me also talk to you about Game Time, folks. If you're looking for tickets, maybe you want to go watch another team, because the Guardians are not fun to watch right now. But Game Time, if you've ever decided last minute to head to a ball game with family or friends, maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands, that's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merchandise, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to the first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worrying out of buying. Seat views right in the app. See them so you know exactly where you'll be. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, Zach, let's get back to it. On the field last night, after this awful news, the Guardians get off to a rough start. They're behind the Rockies 3-0. They rally to take the lead. And
Wait, had you ever heard of this guy on the Rockies, their first baseman named
Warming Bernabel?
Warming
Bernabel.
Yeah.
I heard
Cool
of
name.
him because I keep rosters for every team on a spreadsheet, and I update my transactions daily because I'm that kind of nerd. And so I knew they had called him up a couple of days ago, but I didn't know much about him. But obviously, he hit a home run. They take the lead. The Guardians come back with the big. What was it? The sixth inning? What was it? The inning they had scored all those runs. I can't remember now which inning it is. It's all a blur.
Yeah, I think so. 7th.
And then Goodman hits the home run to cut it to 1. Then in the 9th, Cade Smith gets his first opportunity to nail down a save with Clase gone. And listen, I'm not saying Cade Smith might convert his next 20 saves for all I know. He's talented enough and good enough to do it. But just because you're a talented pitcher doesn't mean you could be a great closer. We've seen it many times with many pitchers. And last night, double right off the bat, the bunt single, he throws the ball away. 2 good bunts by Brenton Doyle in this game, which is, an unheard of art at this point. And obviously they tack on. Tyler Freeman goes opposite field. The Guardians get 1 back in the bottom of the 9th, but they lose the game. So, as you said, salt on the wounds with Cade Smith blowing this game in the 9th.
Yeah, I don't worry about him. That's even if none of the stuff happened yesterday, and they just lose that game to the Rockies like that, that's still brutally painful.
Oh my God. Remember, the Rockies are on pace to break the record that was just broken last year by the White Sox for worst.
That win got them to 28-78.
Yeah, 50 games under 500.
So it's really interesting. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time talking about Guardians Rockies because I don't think it really matters.
It doesn't.
I think it's very interesting, the contrast between the Guardians and the Royals. Even before all this, I had not heard much chatter about the Guardians' interest in adding anybody. I know they had conversations with certain sellers. Like I know they talked to the Diamondbacks at least once or twice. And you do that. You do your recon to know what every other team is thinking. But I had never heard and I'm not saying I normally do, but I remember them being really interested in Brian Reynolds in the past and Jesse Winker and stuff.
Sure.
Hadn't really heard much of that this time.
Right.
So I've been pretty consistent saying I think they're going to largely stand pat at this deadline. Obviously, this changes things, right? But it was interesting to me being in Kansas City over the weekend and the Guardians being slightly ahead of the Royals in the standings. And the Royals traded for Randall Grichuk. They traded for Adam Frazier a week earlier. They signed Seth Lugo to an extension. When
Grichuk hit a home run, by the way, yesterday.
Okay. And he was, Lugo was a very popular trade candidate. So, and then the Guardians are still trotting out Jonathan Rodriguez and Austin Hedges and Carlos Santana. So it's just interesting the different mindsets between two teams that are essentially in the same spot in the standings and probably will continue to go in opposite directions here. I don't know how much buying or more buying the Royals will do, but the Guardians aren't going to add here. So it's just it was strange, but I feel like if you're a Royals fan, you at least appreciate that. And even if you're a Royals player, you appreciate that the team still has some level of faith that you can hang around.
Yeah, the Guardians, as you mentioned, are 2 games under 500 again. They've lost 4 of 5 after that real hot streak they were on. They're 52-54. We got 58 games left, 56 games left in the season.
56.
56. They're 4 games out of the wild card. The third wild card's Boston. They're behind Texas and Tampa. They're a half game up on the Angels and Royals and 1 game up on Minnesota. Minnesota, like the Guardians, are sellers, while Kansas City is a buyer. The Angels feel like they never sell. I mean, listen, obviously if they had any thoughts of not selling, although, again, as we discussed, they don't have much to sell, then the Clase suspension obviously put that over the top. So they are not going to be buyers, even with their allegedly weak schedule. They're not going to make the playoffs. I've said this consistently, even with Clase. Now, you just lost your best relief pitcher, so you lose all his innings. And even if Cade Smith is great the rest of the season, which I expect him to be, it doesn't matter because you now, not that it doesn't matter, but it's still, you've lost your best reliever. So Cade Smith maybe does Emmanuel Clase's job, and maybe Hunter Gaddis does Cade Smith's job. Maybe. But who's doing Hunter Gaddis's job?
Right. You had both of them.
Yeah.
Now you only have one.
That's right.
And it's not like, I'd feel differently if they had a healthy Andrew Walters, or if Franco Alemán in AAA was doing far better than he has been. But they just, you're going to get more Festa and more Junis. And who doesn't love that?
Oh, yeah. Exciting. Yeah, no, I want to say, even if he's doing, if he's a highly regarded prospect, even if he's doing well, they don't, there's no guarantee that the guy's called up. I mean,
Yeah, I think, it's rough, right? It's bleak. I think a lot of fans are frustrated and they're seeking some Guardians talk therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I almost think the frustrating part here is, one, it's not like an injury. It's one thing if like Clase blew out his elbow and Ortiz blew out his elbow, like you would just be mad at the injury gods, and you would just, but this is sure looks like it's self-inflicted and like
100%,
a lot more severe and devastating. And the other thing is that in many years like this, you turn your attention to, okay, well, I mean, how many times have we seen this team, even during the Tito era, there were a few years where they'd sell off some veterans at the deadline because they were just treading water.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't get worse in the second half. And if
Right.
anything, sometimes they got better.
That's true.
Like I remember the year 15, they traded Swisher and Bourne, and they had traded David Murphy and Brandon Moss, and then they got better. Like they actually played well down the stretch and ended up like 81-80. And the problem is, like, there was a lot of potential for August and September to be really interesting, even if the team was out of it. But DeLauder and Brito are hurt, and Bazana's at AA, and I don't think we're going to see him. Like, I'm clinging to like Kafis and maybe Parker Messick. It's like, nah.
Yeah. It's hard. I don't understand why Santana's still on the team, frankly, but that's baffled me for a month. Let's see some fan comments here before we go. Ura Hirschberger says, we need some accountability from the top down. That's something we've talked about a lot, that Zach has really went on about that today, and he's 100% right. B. Skrills, I was devastated by the Clase news. These are grown men, says Evan 419. They knew the rules. They're posted. There is no excuse for these players. Zero.
No.
They knew what they were doing.
I do wonder. So the unfortunate thing for Cleveland is that you are now the example here. Because you would think, and I don't know. I mean, we need to see how this plays out, I guess. But I don't think there's a gray area here. Nope. I think, again, I will reiterate, like, it is hard for me to wrap my head around a scenario that does not end in lifetime bans for these guys, right?
Yeah.
And let's just say that that's what happens. Would be pretty sure that is going to speak much louder to every player in baseball, minor league or major league, than some MLB official coming in on February 24th and saying, hey guys, you're not allowed to bet, and here are all the ways that you can get caught, and blah, blah, blah. Or the fact that there is a laminated poster on the wall of every clubhouse. I don't think players are walking into the locker room every day and stopping and rereading that, block of text, right? So the thing that's going to have the most impact is this.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for Cleveland, you're the guinea pig.
Yeah, that's true. Beast Grill says Nolan Jones stinks. Any thoughts on that?
It's insane that he only has 3 home runs.
Man, I don't high hopes for him this year.
I don't understand. And he hits the ball hard, but I feel like he doesn't make enough contact. And I feel like I just constantly watch him foul back like 94-mile-an-hour fastballs down the middle.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's like a swing path thing or what. You look at him and you're like, dude's an athlete. He's strong. He's like an ox and he hits it hard. Like, why does it not work? And I just don't understand it.
For those who weren't with us earlier, if you joined us late, go back and watch the whole thing. I think it's been a great conversation about what's the state of the Guardians. But one specific thing, the report by Michael Hector Gomez saying that there are more suspensions coming for the Guardians. Zach said earlier that he doesn't think that's the case. It doesn't make sense after the Guardians put out a statement saying there'd be no more. If they had any clue, any chance that there was going to be more. Even if they didn't know one way or the other, they wouldn't.
MLB did not need to tell the Guardians there's no one else involved. And you know what? You know what's a shame too? And I'm not going to criticize someone else's reporting because I don't know the background on it, but that's a serious allegation because if you're a player in that clubhouse, you're looking around like, wait, there's more of us who can I trust?
Right. Yeah.
Like that's
great point.
You better be right on that. And MLB and the Guardians are saying you're not.
Sonic says train wreck since last offseason, no additions for the offense. So you get what you have now, below 500. Rob says, I've never heard of two players from the same team, the same season getting suspended for allegedly gambling. I can't remember. I think there was a team last year that had two players, but two,
Jason wrote a column and I think he had looked through it.
I believe there were 4 or 5 guys suspended total last year, but no big names like this.
No.
Adam said he hit the bell for us. We appreciate that. Hit the bell. Hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. Rob says, all are adults, all know the rules. The ultimate selfishness in these situations makes your blood boil. Buckeye guy, we lost at home to Colorado. Guardians are done. Adam says, go for the Reds. That's all I can suggest. Nathan, has Cade Smith made a better throw? Had Cade Smith made a better throw when he fielded the grounder in the top of the ninth, the team likely would have won the game. I mean, it would have been first and third, nobody out.
Did you watch the game last night at all?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, was there a weird vibe?
Yes.
I don't know if it was the rain delay, the Clase stuff, or what, but it felt weird. And I can't put my finger on it.
Did you get a chance to talk to the players at all yesterday?
Yeah, but like
nobody was.
They're well trained.
Yeah. I mean, I think when you start the game, first of all, 3 hours late or whatever it was, I mean, that always creates a weird vibe in the ballpark to begin with. And there has to be a sense from some of the players of what is happening here. Because usually players, no matter what another player does on their team, they always got their back. But some of these guys at least got to be like, F those guys. You know, like, what are these guys doing? I don't know.
I think that's part of, a question that has been brought up a lot, and there's not an answer yet because you don't know, but it's regardless of what happened, how do those guys walk back into that clubhouse ever? I mean, they might not be permitted to,
right?
But like Luis Ortiz still has a locker and his stuff's still in it.
Yeah.
And at some point, either he's going to come back or someone's going to have to clean it out for him.
Yeah.
And trust is a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
When you are around your teammates, and it's not like the NFL where the quarterback is just going to have the ball in his hands, or the best player in the NBA is going to have the ball in his hands. Like, you don't know who's going to bat. You don't know who's going to pitch in a certain situation. And you're around these people for 9 months every single day. Trust matters. Relationships matter. And you fracture that, I don't think you get it back.
Buckeye guy, Guardians aren't going anywhere. We were shut out halfway through the game against Colorado. MK, the Guards are basically a AAA team just with shitty veterans. Andrew says, how long has Antonetti been in charge? Our front office, and the farm system is no hitting.
Well, the ironic thing is the farm system has a lot of hitting now. It's just, will they actually pan out?
Right.
But they've got a decent number of top 100 prospects, and they're all hitters. The question is, will they become legitimate major leaguers, or will they become more of what we've seen?
Right. Madkill says, this is the most logical and measured analysis of this team ever. Thank you. We appreciate that, Madkill. Nathan, hopefully David Blitzer will spend the money like former team owner Richard Jacobs was. I hope so too, but I'm sick of hoping that David Blitzer spends money to turn. We've been waiting for David Blitzer to spend money to turn. I know he's not the majority. Yeah, can the Dolans just get the hell out? Can they get out? Can Blitzer take over? And let's start fresh everywhere. Let's get the owner out. Let's get the front office out. No offense to Stephen Vogt, but he's got to be out too. Start fresh. David.
What about the team name?
Oh, God, don't get me started. We're keeping the team name. That's the only thing I'm keeping is the team name. And I want everybody else out. I want I wonder if David Blitzer right now, what he's thinking as the minority owner. I wonder if he's thinking man, Dolan's an idiot. What are we doing here?
I don't know. I still don't have proof that guy exists.
Yeah, I know. All right. Yeah, you know what? We should mention this in this sea of awfulness, and we got to go. But Jason says, congrats to Tom Hamilton at least. And yes.
But that legitimately is another reason why this sucks is, Chris Antonetti was driving back from Cooperstown.
Yeah.
When he got the official call from MLB.
Yeah.
Hammy's the best there is. And
great guy.
I could talk about him forever.
Yeah. I loved your column.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I mean,
really
it's don't take my word for it. Take the word of so many other Hall of Fame broadcasters who make a point to go out of their way to, one, visit with him every time they're in Cleveland and shoot the shit for 2 hours.
I didn't know that part. That part was very interesting, reading about that.
Or two, listen to his calls or his play-by-play.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the most accomplished broadcasters in recent history getting in their car and going to find a Guardians game because they want to listen to Tom Hamilton. I mean, you can't pay a higher compliment than that. And so it's well-deserved. I thought his speech was very him, where it was so humble. He got in a few funny anecdotes. And then I'm sure once he was off the stage and was hobnobbing with everybody at the bar the rest of the night, he was extremely self-deprecating and cracking a ton of jokes and letting his guard down a little bit. But he's uncomfortable with the attention, and he just does not think he deserves all of that. And I know for a fact that he was breathing a sigh of relief when it was all over and the spotlight was not on him.
Yeah, he'll be looking forward to getting back in the booth. He was awesome. We're all very excited for him. Great guy, great broadcaster, as good as it gets. Congrats, of course, to CC Sabathia, whose car broke down. I don't remember exactly what happened, but that was so funny. Yeah. And he's just, I got to meet him finally in person earlier this year. He was awesome, and I'm happy for him. Dave Parker's son looks exactly like Dave Parker. That is crazy. He's huge. And Ichiro in English.
It was wasn't it a awesome. Just a great class of diverse accomplishments and
Billy Wagner played Division III baseball.
Yeah, very, very cool class. Everybody had a great background story, I feel like.
Yeah. And Dick Allen as well. So great class. Thanks everybody for joining us, folks. I'll be back on in 5 minutes on my podcast. Dustin and I in the bullpen in 5 minutes.
Kenny Pickett, what's going on? What are they going to do?
We'll talk a little about the Guardian situation, and then we'll talk about Kenny Pickett getting hurt, and we'll talk some Browns. At 11 o'clock, I'll be on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And then at 2 o'clock, I'm going to be on Betting Weekly Hardball. We'll talk about the games on the docket today. I'm a busy day for me. I love it. Love being busy. The more busier I am, the less eating I do. Zach, I'll talk to you soon, buddy.
That's a great walk-off.
There you go. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate the love. We'll talk to you next time. If there is a big trade involving the Guardian, we may do a second show this week if there's a big trade. At this point, I think that would only be Quan, because we're expecting Bieber to get traded. I don't see what else could happen, but we'll see. We'll talk to you next time on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show.